Good afternoon, Brenton. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Do we have a quorum?
We do have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We do have a quorum, which includes yourself. We do not have Lano on yet, so I don't know if you want to give him a minute.
Yeah, let's give them a minute or two and then let me know when they come on.
Okay, will do. All right, Randall, it looks like you do have a quorum if everybody can turn their cameras on so we can verify that.
Okay.
Then also Kay and Christian have joined us as well. Let's see, one.
Okay.
See, you are here. Michelle Guillory is here. Stephen is here. Mike is here. Who am I missing? Oh, no. Chris has joined us. I see Tamisha. Okay, there she is. All right, so Chris has joined us. We have Tamisha. So you definitely have a quorum outside of just including yourself, Randall. So you should be good to go.
Thank you, sir. Okay, well, welcome everyone, and thank you for taking time to be here today. We have very important work to do, and I thank everybody for being able to attend and be part of today's work. Introductions. I'm the chair of both this committee and your council. I'm Randall Brown. I don't know if we want to, if Brenton could call roll and then they could each introduce themselves if we want to do that. I think that might be easier.
Sure. So you already introduced yourself. Next is Michael Billings.
I'm here. I am a member of the executive committee and a parent of children with disabilities.
All right. And Miss Michelle Guillory.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Michelle Guillory. I work for the Governor's Office of Elderly Affairs, and I am a council member.
Awesome. Stephen Wynn.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Stephen Wynn. I am a self-advocate from Region 1 and 10. I am also an executive committee member.
All right. And Mr. Chris Rodriguez.
Hello, everybody. My name is Chris Rodriguez. I'm the Executive Director of the Disability Rights Louisiana and a sibling of an individual with intellectual and developmental disabilities.
And Ms. Tamisha Saunier.
Good afternoon. I'm Tamisha Saunier. I'm a parent advocate from Region 5, and I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody. And again, welcome to our guest. Kay, I'll give you the floor in just a moment, but let me go ahead and get some business out of the way first. Okay, we need to approve the summary for the September 29th, 2020 meeting. There it is, you see before you on the screen. If nobody has any objections, it will pass by unanimous consent. So what I'm asking for is for us to each look over it here, and if any member of the committee has an objection, to say so. And if I hear none, it will pass by unanimous consent. So I'll give you a moment to look over the agenda that's before us. Do I have any objections to what's presented? Hearing no objections, the motion passes by unanimous consent. Thank you all. And it will be filed and recorded. All right, the next item of business is to recommend, or the recommended search timeline. At this time, I'd like to turn things over to Ms. Kay Irby from Llano, which is the group that's going to be helping us with our search, to talk with us about their projections for that search timeline. Kay, you have the floor.
Oh, I think you're muted.
There, better?
Yes,
There
we
we
can
go.
hear you. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much. Thanks to all of you for your time this afternoon. Christian Beatty and I are both here on behalf of Llano and looking forward to working with you. I think if I am looking at this, there are probably a few new folks on the call that were not here the last time, so we will back up and can we give Chris let her put up the timeline and the job description so that if we need to make changes that we can.
Yes, so I've stopped sharing my screen. So as a panelist, Christian, you should be able to start sharing your screen. You should have that option. There we go.
There we go.
Okay, my camera is not working and I apologize. It was working about 5 minutes ago and just quit. So as long as everyone can see the screen, then we can move forward.
We can.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, that's
Thank you,
great.
Chris.
Thank you, Christian.
Of course.
So this is the search timeline and action plan that we started with last week. I know there was some discussion about a shorter timeline, and we can absolutely go there. I'd like to begin with this. And hear your feelings and your thoughts about the timeline that we have before you. You'll notice that we are already a little bit behind schedule. So today we're hoping to approve a timeline and an action plan for the search process, as well as the job description, so that we can go ahead and get this posted. We also want to talk to you about a list of locations for the posting of the job description, which we'll do at the end of this meeting. And so if we can just move forward, last time we had suggested that the search process begin posting the job announcement on November 9th and post through January the 7th, which would include the holidays here. And Chris, if you will move, I'm going to have to get up. I think my computer has come unplugged.
Okay, so just to keep going, the search process opens and closes, which means this is the time when the applicants will be able to apply, would be from November 9th through January 7th. And then if we go down, you can see that Kay and I will develop an interview process and questioning pattern for the first and second interviews, and we'll present those. We'll also get those to the search committee to approve. And then Kay and I would provide the top 12 vetted candidates to you by January 14th. The next piece would be the top 12 vetted candidates for video. We would ask them for a video with targeted questions based on what we see, what we want to see, and also what we see in their applications, because sometimes those videos are going to be the things that show you what they're going to look like and act and be able to answer questions to the public. And so I think Kay and I thought this was a really good idea and would be able to help you all have a better decision moving forward. So just for them to be able to answer those, now they would get the questions in advance and we ask them, I think, was it a 30-second to 1 minute video, Kay? Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so. Depending on what kind of, how many questions the panel wants to ask and what you determine would be important.
Right. And sometimes when you get a resume, you don't always get a feel for the kind of person that they are. And so sometimes, give them a chance to be more in depth than that resume piece of paper. And I think that's a really great opportunity for you to be able to develop more questions, more in depth, and we can decide on that. We then move on to the search committee.
Chris, can we stop for just 1 second? I also want to make sure, because we've had two timelines or two sets of potential pieces of information from you. The very first thing says develop interview process and questioning pattern for first and second round. I want to make sure that you all want to be part of those interview questions, designing those interview questions. Am I right, Randall?
We do, yes. Yes,
Okay.
you're correct.
So we would need a meeting with this committee in December if we're going to do that as well. Okay. I just wanted to flag that. I'm sorry, Christian.
Thank you for that. I've made note of that, and we'll get you. You let me know whenever it works for y'all, and we'll get you a meeting scheduled.
Okay. Thank you. Go, Chris.
Okay. The next thing with the search committee, based on the 12 vetted candidates and the videos that Kay and I will provide to you, would need to select your top 6 for the first round interviews by January 28th. So that really gives the candidates some time to submit their videos, and then you will be able to review the resumes again along with the videos by January 28th. Then the week of February 16th, the search committee would conduct the first round of interviews. So that would give plenty of time for that week to schedule the candidates based on your schedules, and we could give them options. If you have Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, 9 to 12, or whatever times, and that would give you that entire week to schedule those interviews. And they would be at this point, I guess, based on COVID restrictions, those would be Zoom interviews, unless your committee and council can meet in person based on your restrictions and what the governor puts out there. These would be via Zoom. Then the week of February 28th, and this is something that we wanted to talk about. The committee meeting, we would have a committee meeting on the 28th to refine questions and the interview process for the second round interviews and select the candidates for the second round interviews. So this would be your top 3. Out of the top 6 in the first round interviews, this February 28th day is where you would pick the top 3. And then the committee will, at that point also will develop a process for including board members and key stakeholders in the second round interviews. So that's something we also had a question about, which we will discuss in the next piece of this. So during March, Kay and I will conduct a background and reference checks of the top 3 candidates for the second round interviews. Sometimes those background checks do take a little bit longer to get in, especially if the candidates are going to, depending on what we decide on where they're going to, if they're going to the state police or if there's a different process that we do, then we will need to do that. And those sometimes can take up to 2 to 3 weeks to get in. So we need to keep that in mind when we're building this timeline. And that would also give us the chance to get the references, which are really important, and we can make sure that you all have that information. And then we would conduct the second round interviews the end of March, depending on how long it takes to get the background checks and reference checks in order. And then I think this is where Kay and I had some questions about the second round interviews. And so this is, Kay, this is the point where we were wondering, are the second round interviews only going to happen with the search committee, or is this where all of the board of directors will meet the top 3?
All of us will meet the top 3 candidates we pick will go before the council.
Okay. And so I guess depending on the date in April, and this is based on the April timeline that we had, this is when they would come in, and you would just need to let us know when the council meeting would be, and then so that they could make arrangements to be there for that event.
Right. I will say, I like your timeline as it is, because I know you have a lot of things you'll be doing to prepare these candidates and prepare us to meet with them and have a productive meeting with them, each of them, in time. The thing I would say is that we don't have to stay with the April meeting, with our normal April meeting date as the meeting for the council to meet with the top 3. I can call a special meeting just for that as soon as we have those selected. So we could move that part up based on whatever we get, however quickly we can get the rest of this all done. But personally, I like the time frame you've laid out up to that point, because I know you're going to need time for the background checks to be conducted and concluded, and resumes are going to be gathered and sorted, and interviews scheduled. So I know all that's going to take time, and we do have the holidays soon upon us, and that's going to factor in to all of us being able to be available and candidates being available and such. And so I actually think we're better off going with the timeline which this is the timeline we originally gave you, and you've stuck to it. And if we move today, we can stay with it. And I think, it's my opinion, we should. And if we can get to an earlier date for the meeting of the whole council with the top 3 finalists, I'll schedule that as soon as we have them. So
How
it
much
doesn't have to.
time? Oh, I'm sorry, Randall. I apologize. I thought you were finished.
No, it's okay.
A little bit of a delay. I apologize for that. So how much time would you need to call that special council meeting?
You could let me know. I probably would need at least 2 to 3 days notice that you're ready.
Okay, and I think as long as the council would know to be prepared for that, because I really would hope that we could get everything in within the first 2 weeks in March.
Right.
And then we could distribute that to the council and hopefully call something by the end of March. And then you
Right.
could make your announcement.
Okay, that sounds good. Brenton and I will
Randall-
stay in communicate. Yes, Brenton.
Sorry, if I may, it's going to be hard to tell. It's really going to depend on where the council is at that time.
That
know
was my
if we
next
have a short
question.
turnaround. If
Yeah.
if we are doing business in person, you're going to need way more than 2 to 3 days, because we have to find a hotel, we have to find a
That's
room,
true.
we have to arrange for travel.
That's true.
And so
Yeah.
honestly,
Well, here's what I was going to say. Hold up. Is we're going to be in contact with you guys, Kay and Kristen, Brenton and I, regularly. And so as soon as you know you're getting close and we're ready to present, like, we have the 3, I'll start looking at when we can schedule it. And based on how we're meeting, whether we're meeting in person or over the computer, we'll stay in communication. And as soon as y'all tell me, we have the top 3, here they are, we will look at the calendar and put it out because we also have to give public notice in plenty of time. And so let's not everybody get panicked about that. We have time for that. I'm just saying that we don't have to stay stuck with the April quarterly meeting as our deadline to present the 3 candidates. That can be moved up. And so we'll stay in contact. And as we have those 3, y'all can let me know, and I will immediately look at our schedules and get everybody together and see what's a good day to present them.
Also,
Chris,
Chris has his hand raised.
yeah.
Yes, Chris.
Hi, thank you so much for putting all this stuff together. We're really excited to be with you. If you could just back up just briefly and give us a recap of the things that will have to take place prior to the development of the interview process. So in terms of, the benchmarks related to getting the job description done and getting it out to the public and things like that, just to recap, maybe I missed it. The internet's been in and out.
So we were hoping to put your job description out by November 9th. So it depends on how things go today as to how quickly we can get this job description posted and out. And then leaving it open through January the 7th because of Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays. We felt like it needed, and New Year's, we really needed a little bit more time with the job posting out. Chris, am I missing anything, Christian?
No, that's why we really wanted to push it through January 7th. And plus a lot of people they may not be, we just want to make sure we are able to get it out to all the available outlets to post this job in plenty of time. Because while everything in state should be going out by November 9th, it's some of the other councils and national places that we don't know if it will post on November 9th that might be later in the week. And we just want to make sure all those places have plenty of time to get it up and posted.
Right.
Sounds great. Another question, I don't know if we already touched on this, and I'm always confused, and I apologize, about the council has like a strange relationship with like being state employees and being separate a little bit. Are there any rules or things like that stipulate how we post state jobs or anything like that? Does anybody know?
Randall or Brenton, I think you have to answer that question for
And
us.
is that something we need to look into?
For this position, no, but I think Michelle has her hand raised.
Michelle, you have the floor.
For this position, since it is an unclassified position, it does not follow the typical classified civil service rules. That's why we're able to go outside of state government to post this position. The salaries are also negotiable, which is not typical of civil service. So we're okay on that.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Michelle.
Appreciate it.
And you will note on the job description, we have listed it as an unclassified position. So.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, scoot up a little bit, Christian, if you don't mind.
I'm sorry, Tamisha also has her hand raised.
Oh, sorry.
Tamisha, you have the floor.
Thank you. I hope y'all can hear me. I was just curious, and I hope I didn't miss something oversight wise. I was just trying to look over the description again. But and I'm not sure if this is the area to address that, but I was just wondering about, I didn't see if there was education mentioned on the job description, and knowledge and skills were missing from the job description, certain things like that. So for example, say like at minimum, a master's degree will be required for a salary as such, or 5 years experience in, management or something like that. But I wasn't sure if that would be listed on the job description or if I overlooked something.
We're going to go there next. So Do you mind holding, because those are good questions. And I think there's some questions we had too. So you are talking right at us and asking some great questions that hold those thoughts for just a minute. And we're going to go there next.
Hey, do you want me to go down to the next page or?
Yes, I want you to go down to the next page. The one comment that I wanted to make was at the top when we talk about developing interview process and questioning pattern for 1 and 2. I think it's more likely in December that we will be developing those first round questions. To me, and we'll see how this goes, but those second round questions we almost have to do once we narrow the field down, because I think sometimes once you interview a person the first time, those questions get deeper. And so I just wanted to say, after we conduct this first round of interviews in February, I think we may need to meet again and refine our questions, as she says, and get ready for the second round. And there may be some time in there we could make up, Randall, depending on how long all of that takes. I think
Sure. I mean,
could be a little shortening of that.
Sure. I understand this is just our best educated guess of how
Yeah.
everything will play out. And we certainly will do our best where we can to save time to move things forward. And you and I and Brenton, all of us will stay in contact and adjust things accordingly. And I'll let the committee know, or we'll let the committee know as soon as you are requesting a meeting.
Okay. So we are okay to tighten this up.
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Absolutely. I want
Okay.
to leave a lot of that to y'all's discretion because you'll be the ones doing most of this work. And I know
Yeah.
that you don't know exactly how long things will take for some of this to happen. So I want to give you some leeway. But certainly, yes, if we can tighten things up, we're all for it.
Okay.
And I would like to go back to the ask the top 12 vetted candidates. So after we provide the top 12 vetted candidates, when we start developing the interview process question pattern for the first round of interviews, we probably should have the questions we want answered on the video. And then when we provide the top 12, we want to kind of look through those and have specific questions for each of those top 12 candidates. I think that will be really important because we don't want just everyone answering the same question. We want these to be a little bit individualized so we get to know the person off paper before we start making decisions. So we can talk about that more in January, but I definitely think that that's going to be really important for those videos.
Thank you for that. And we certainly, that's noted in January. We will certainly heed that advice.
Okay. So if we're in agreement, are you all ready to move on to the job description? Do we need to take a vote on this timeline, Randall?
Is everyone in agreement with the timeline that's been presented today? Is there anyone who doesn't agree? Can I please have a motion to accept the timeline as presented?
I'll make a motion to accept the timeline as presented.
Thank you, Stephen. Do I have a second to Stephen's motion to accept the timeline as Lano has presented to us today?
This is Mike, I'll second.
Mike Billings seconds. Thank you, sir. So I have a motion from Stephen Wynn and a second from Mr. Mike Billings on the timeline you see before you that's been presented and discussed today by Lano. Are there any abstentions? All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay. All opposed? No. The ayes have it. The motion has carried. Thank you all. Okay, now we can
Around.
move forward. Okay.
I think you have to get public comment on your motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There are some in the chat, but it doesn't deal with the timeline. So I think it'd be appropriate to read those when y'all move to the actual job description. Because
Okay, thank you.
talk about that. But I don't know if there's any comment about the timeline.
Well, let me back up. Is there any comment regarding the timeline that's been presented today from our public? Hearing no public comment, we will proceed. Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, Christian, could you put up the executive director job description, please?
Yes.
And I'm assuming you've all had some time to review the job description. I know that it was sent to you ahead of our meeting last week. When we started this, we looked at job descriptions across the country. We pulled some job descriptions. We talked to some of your staff about job responsibilities and wanted to be as inclusive when we started to give you a job description as we knew to be. We can certainly scale this back some. We know that we probably have missed some things that you want. And so we are ready for your comments. We began with the job purpose, which I think really had been provided to us mostly by you all. And then started with duties and responsibilities. But before I move on, any questions about the job purpose section? Any changes you'd like to make there? Why don't we take this section by section? And I can give you a few minutes to review it again.
Yes, thank you. Because this is also the public's first time seeing it.
Okay.
So I think it'd be useful to give us a few minutes for everyone to see it. Are there any questions with regard to the job description? Brenton, are there any questions in the chat box that we need to address before we move forward?
Related to the job description, you have a few, not necessarily on the purpose, but just the job description in general. One from Liz Gary says it's an unclassified position. Please note that, and she lists the revised statute 4267(1) does have a requirement for management personnel minimum qualifications, and she provided a link there. And she said that is for unclassified positions. Michelle Guillory.
Thank you.
This is in relation to the conversation about degrees. She put requiring a master's degree may not be beneficial. I feel that in many situations it would be a benefit, but there are many individuals in the workforce that could do a fantastic job that may not have a degree, but have managed programs and or businesses successfully. And then we have from Karonda Corley. It's just about the motion. She asked if the motions can be put on the screen, roll call vote be used per Robert Rules of Order. And then Liz Gary also asked if input from ITAC was received as part of, I guess, development of this job description.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Your comments are noted.
And as far as the ITAC thing, I can say what they shared with us, we shared with Lano.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So the next portion of this are the duties and responsibilities, and these are broken into leadership of the council, which will take first, then public interface, fiscal responsibility, administrative and staff responsibilities, and then we will get to essential requirements. We'll begin just by letting you review this first section on duties and responsibilities that have to do with leadership with the council. And this is on a couple of pages, so we'll scroll down slowly and give you a few minutes to read this first page.
Thank you, Kay. And thank you, Kristen.
All right, am I good to go to the next page?
Yes.
All right, so do we want to talk about this first section before we go to public interface, Kay?
Yes, I'd like
Yes.
for us to. Any
Yes.
comments? Yeah, on this first section? Have we left anything out? Is there something you want to take out? Do you feel like this captures the relationship of this person with the council and their work?
Does the committee have any questions, comments, or feedback for Kay and her team?
You have a hand raised and 2 public comments whenever you're ready, Randall.
Yes, let's proceed with the hand and then the public comments afterward.
Okay, it's Ms. Karonda Corley.
Ms. Corley, you have the floor.
Great afternoon, Mr. Chairman and Council. I would like to first start off with that these job duties is basically what our actual program managers and staff is actually doing. So for us to down our executive director and actually downplay what the executive director is going to do in this job description is very absurd and unheard of. Our executive director is supposed to govern and embody everything that federal DE Act and our bylaws say. And for us to say that we're going to have this person actually ensure the activities That is part of what the chairperson is supposed to do. So I think that we need to make sure that we actually understand what our executive director is supposed to do, because we don't have anything on here stating how our executive director actually go and attend all these different meetings and sit on multiple boards. And that's part of their job description and job duty. So I think that we really need to go and talk back to Miss Winchell and Mr. Fleming and actually ask them what was everything that they did, because we would see that they did a whole lot more than the 6 or 7 little PowerPoints that we actually put out here to actually say that we're going to actually have someone do. Secondly, our minimum requirements, these minimum requirements are minimum for any civil service job. So that is not something that we should be asking for from an executive director. Any executive director that works for the state or any entity has to have a certain level of professionalism, including degree requirements. So we should not dumb it down. And I'm tired of us dumbing ourselves down. This is why our disability community is not receiving the things that they're supposed to receive, because we're asking for minimum. And I just think that we should not lower our standards. Well, we should set the bar, and our bar should not be so low. So I just ask that our council actually bring that bar back up to where it's supposed to be, and that we actually take into consideration what Ms. Winchell and Mr. Fleming did, and we ask them for their input. That's what I would like to see our council do today. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your comments.
Randall, would love to
Yes.
respond to that comment. I did spend about 3 hours talking with Sean Fleming and going through this job description and getting his feedback. And he did approve this before we sent it back to Randall and Brenton to do today. And he's the one who has made some of the changes in this that we have talked extensively about over the last probably month or month and a half. So we did
I would say close to 2 months.
Yeah, we did take into consideration.
Yeah.
We did reach out to Sandy, but we have not been able to talk with her. So anyway, yeah, we did get feedback from him.
And Randall, if I may, I just want to remind everybody, these few bullets that are on the screen are just very minor compared to the rest of the stuff that's in this job description. But while planning a meeting may seem like that's something staff do, we primarily do it right now because we don't have our director and our deputy director. But the director is the sole staff person of the council. That is the only.
That's correct.
Hire. And it is in their responsibilities to do these things. And they, even though it seems kind of minor and it should be delegated to staff, it is, but they're ultimately responsible for planning basic things like the meetings and the quarterly reports. And then they delegate those certain tasks to us when they see fit, but it is their sole responsibility to accomplish some of those things. And that's why it's listed in there. This is very commonly seen in other job descriptions for other councils that have looked for a director as well. Just throwing that out there.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, are we ready to move on to public interface, Randall?
I believe we are. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Have we addressed all the comments in the chat box, Brenton, about this section?
I had to step away for a second, so I'm not sure what chats y'all read. I do know Liz had her hand up, then I think I saw it went down, so I'm not sure if she still had something. Did y'all get a comment from Miss Dwyer? I see she has a comment there.
We did not. Could you read that, please?
It says, note that the requirements for unclassified or minimum requirements an executive director's position could require a master's or a doctorate. And there was a comment from Ms. Corley, but I think she was able to bring that up.
She expressed that, yes.
So that's all you have there. And Liz's hand is down, so I guess, I don't know, maybe her question was answered or she's holding it for the moment.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's move on to public interface. This is a little shorter section, and we'll give you a few minutes to read this one. Okay, everybody good with this section? Any questions or comments?
Do you have any comments in the chat box, Brenton?
From Kathy Dwyer, it says, I think given the scope and responsibilities of the position, a minimum of a master's degree would be best. It looks like Liz Gary's hand is raised.
Yes, Liz, you have the floor.
Thank you, Randall. I just want to say that maybe consider, I know it states it's under leadership with the council, but I also think it's probably important, I should say, I feel it's very important that not only is the leadership of the council, they engage in practices that promote and demonstrate transparency, inclusiveness, cohesiveness, and trust, should also be a public thing. I think it's not just a council thing. I think it's definitely an overall public thing also. And then the same thing is just making sure that because of the self-advocates, the families and things like that, I think that's definitely something to consider that should be probably duplicated also for the public. Thank you.
Noted. Thank you. Any other questions or comments with regard to what we see before us?
Ms. Tamisha has her hand raised.
Tamisha, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to, I'm not sure if this is the exact area to address that, because I guess it would fit more of me looking at under essential requirements, because I feel like the education and experience is more of an essential thing that we would need, because I keep hearing people in the public comments saying stuff about the education requirements and the minimum. And I do agree with Ms. Guillory about having people you know, a different say education levels being good candidates. But for this position and for what I've noticed as sitting on the council, we really would, I think we would do a good deed of service for the public and for people with disabilities to have, like you said, a higher standard of someone who would be able to have the flexibility, the training, the education, and the knowledge base, who has been in those positions to be able to handle some of the responsibility of what is required at a master's level. Knowing this and coming from some areas where that is considered, when you're looking at the experience of someone with a master's degree and the positions they are put in, I think having that as a requirement for this type of position it should be an essential factor. That plus the minimum requirements is just some things, just like we are referring to, like Miss Kay just said, she had to contact Sean and they reached out to Miss Sandy. That came with years of experience. And when you leave that out, or the training and requirements, we are doing the public and our people with disabilities a disservice. So I just want to stress that I feel like we should keep that at the forefront, of part of this application. Thank you.
If I might make a suggestion, and it's just a suggestion, could we maybe list the master's degree as preferred, but not required? Because obviously we think it is a very important thing, and I agree with that. But you also could have a candidate or two that has a wealth of experience and may not have that master's as well. I don't want to limit the pool of applicants if someone has had and it would be a unique experience, I'll grant you that, but it would be, but we don't know who all will be applying in from where. And so, we want to be as broad as possible in the applications we're looking at. And so I don't want someone who might fall in that category of having unique experiences that could really benefit us, look at that and say, well, I don't have my master's, so I'm not going to apply. I think if we say master's preferred, that lets us know that that's really what we're looking for, but it doesn't knock out someone who may have, say, 30 years of nonprofit experience or something, that may make them an excellent candidate for this. Because this position, although it is it has governmental functions, it is unclassified, and it's very unique as well in a number of ways. And so I don't want to limit us, while I wholeheartedly agree, master's degree level education or experience, it is vital, I believe, and I agree with y'all about that. I do think that you may have a pool of applicants that you limit if you say it's required. And so I would say preferred, and that be the ones that we look for. But if we get a phenomenal candidate that has all of the experience but happens not to have a master's degree, I don't want to knock them out for that one, out of consideration for that one factor. And that's my take on it.
Randall, you have a few hands up, Stephen, Mike, and Chris, and then you have some members of the public that have their hands up as well.
Okay, Stephen.
I just wanted to say that I concur with Chairperson Randall's suggestion, putting it as preferred but not required.
Thank you, sir. Mike, you have the floor.
Yes, I basically just follow up with what you said and Stephen said. I as well agree that it should state master's degree preferred, and let's not limit our pool of applicants.
We have public comment.
Oh, we have Chris and then Michelle.
I'm sorry, Chris, you have the floor, sir.
Yeah, again, I just want to kind of echo what you had started off, Randall. Just doing some, please don't quote me on this because these are just quick Google searches while I'm doing the same thing. According to a study I just Googled again, I don't know how accurate it is, 13% of the United States population has a master's degree. That's basically saying like 87% you're going to disqualify from the job. Imagine the number of that 13% actually have a disability. That's got to be a really, really small portion.
Low number. That's what I'm concerned about. If we
right, so putting that requirement on could disqualify just the vast majority of people with disabilities. And as a group who certainly works very diligently on trying to get people with disabilities into post-secondary opportunities, and we're not even talking about master's programs, and seeing the difficulty of that, it just, I agree that. I have a lot of, as a person with a master's, I have a lot of appreciation for that type of, scholastic aptitude, but having it as a requirement, provided the history that we know of people with disabilities in acquiring and being allowed opportunities for post-secondary opportunities, seems like it could be very prohibitive in a way that I would feel comfortable with.
Thank you, sir. I'm glad you concur. That's part of my concern with making it restricted for master's degree only. We agree. Michelle?
Okay, thank you, Randall. I concur, but I also want to state that if you have an individual who applies, who is a parent of a child with a disability, who may or may not have managed the household, managed a business, has those experiences for 10, 20, 30 years, and now they're coming to the table and want to give something, but they do not have the degree. Those years of experience count way further in the business world than a master's degree, because I've worked with both, and that
Right.
experience is, I mean, you can't put a dollar amount on that.
Understood. Thank you. So we're in agreement that master's degree preferred.
Or experience that is, and do we want to put a comment in there? And I think this does go under essential requirements, possibly.
I agree with you.
Preferred master's degree or experience that is, what is the word I'm looking for?
Equivalent.
Equivalent, yes. Years of
Yes.
experience that are equivalent to a master's degree. Okay.
Correct. I concur.
Also, Randall, Michelle has her hand up, and you have Liz and Kathy that have their hands up as well.
Michelle, you have the floor.
Okay, with the experience equivalency, you could possibly post 3 years, 5 years, 10 years of experience in a management field or a field of disabilities, and you can word it that way. There are several job descriptions out there that'll use years of experience for the degree or master's degree.
I like that. Yeah, I think that's a great suggestion. 3 to 5 years experience in a management field or disabilities.
Yeah, the disabilities or advocacy or public policies, those are, public policy administration. Those are different types of words that can be used that we use in job descriptions within civil service when we write job descriptions. So you can actually pull some classified job descriptions that have the minimum requirements, and then if you don't have this, then you have 3 years of experience constitutes a bachelor's degree, or 5 years experience constitutes a master's degree. So there are different ways you can word it. I'll see if I can pull a couple and send them to Brenton.
Okay.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you. That's very helpful. All right. Good. That's good conversation. Good feedback.
Do we have any public comment before we move forward?
Yes, we have Kathy Dwyer and then Liz Gary.
Miss Kathy, you have the floor, and then after Miss Kathy, Liz, you will have the floor. Kathy?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. I was going to echo a little bit of what Michelle said. Having worked 25 years for the state, 20 of which was in administration at the Human Development Center, dealing with civil service positions and unclassified, you need to be careful and probably check with your civil service officer to make sure the description you put for those without a degree meets the unclassified position, because otherwise you're going to have trouble actually hiring the person you select if they don't have a degree. So that you probably want to get with your civil service officer, whoever that may be at LDH. Typically unclassified, at least at LSU Health Sciences, when I worked, they were very strict. You had to have a degree, at minimum a bachelor's. So, and then they have different level unclassified positions, which is why I had suggested the master's. Your sister agencies, HDC has a requirement for a PhD for the executive director. I know that's not going to be the requirement for the DD Council, but I'm not sure what the Disability Rights Louisiana's minimum requirement is, but those are your sister agencies that you want to look at too. I understand not wanting to limit the field, especially trying to recruit people with disabilities. So I would agree with the preferred, but I don't know, I guess I still feel for that level of position, a master's degree is required. And having worked all those years with professionals, I never experienced any problems recruiting someone with a master's. While I understand the percent may be low, there's still a lot of people I know personally in Louisiana anyway that have master's degree in the DD field. But that's all I have to say, just from my personal experience. Thanks.
Thank you for that. It's noted. Who else do we have for comment? Brenton, it was Liz, right?
Her hand went down, so I
Okay.
don't know. You
All right.
do have a few people that have mentioned in the comment box. Let's see. From Karonda Corley, she mentioned, I share the same sentiments as Miss Saunier. Michelle Guillory put that I concur with Randall. Kelly Monroe said, I agree, experience in a position like this is very important. Karonda Corley again said she strongly agrees with Miss Dwyer.
Okay. Thank you all for your comments. They're noted.
Okay. So let's move, if did we get an agreement on public interface? Move on to fiscal responsibilities and give you a few minutes to read those fiscal responsibilities.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any comments on fiscal responsibilities? Okay. Are we ready to move on?
I believe we are hearing nothing from the committee.
Okay. So then we'll move to the administrative and staff responsibilities. Okay. Any comments here? Okay. Then we're ready to move on to essential requirements.
Does anybody have any questions? Do we have any questions in the chat box, Brenton?
Ms. Corley said, question, if we're going to continue to refer to civil service guidelines, why don't we copy their job description?
Can I ask a question here, Randall?
You certainly may.
If this is an unclassified position, do you have to follow civil service guidelines? This is where, and Michelle shaking her head no.
Yeah, you do.
Okay.
Michelle's correct. We are not required in this position to follow civil service guidelines
Okay.
because it's unclassified.
Also, just to clarify, I mean, folks may not know this because this would have been in part of our earlier conversations over a year ago when this first started. LDH basically for this position gave the council an option. You can go the route through the state if you want and let LDH HR try to find you someone, or the council can take it upon themselves to work with someone to find, you know, whether it be a firm or whatnot.
Right.
One. And the
Which
council,
it's obvious now which route we took.
Right. The council wanted the firm to do it. So LDH is hands off as far as their HR goes. You can request their assistance if you need something, but the council,
which we will do,
not to go the civil service route to try to find somebody and to go in this direction. So that's why there's not been much following of civil service, because you don't actually have to for this position.
So I think the only change then would be to reword this whole, we have holds at least a bachelor's degree in one of the following, and are we still in agreement, and a preferred master's degree, or, and I think Michelle's been giving us some great language there, a minimum bachelor's degree and a preferred master's degree with 3 to 5 years in a management field, or and I believe she gave us disabilities, advocacy, public policy, administrative. You've also given us some other links, Michelle, that I think we may need to check out. But would we be comfortable with letting us add that to this description? Where are we with what you all want here? Do you want preferred? I'm hearing a mix from the group, and I think calling for some clarity for us.
Well, my suggestion is master's degree preferred.
Okay.
For the reasons we've heard from everyone here today, it is a very unique position. It is one that I think a person with a master's degree, should they meet all our other criteria, would honestly be preferred due to all the things we know that they have to do, and the experience that I think they would need. But I don't want to, as I said, it's really important to me we don't limit someone who may not have a bachelor's degree but has a wealth of experience and knowledge. And I don't know, I mean, I'm not speaking of any one person or entity or anything. I don't want to limit our pool before we start.
Okay.
So I am in agreement that a bachelor's degree should be at a minimum. So I think what you have there.
So you think what we have here is fine?
Yes,
Okay.
I do. I don't know how the committee feels, but I think what you have here is just fine.
Okay. Okay, then let's move to conditions of hire. The main thing we put here was a satisfactory background check, including a fingerprint-based background check and drug tests. Is there anything else that we're missing that you might want?
Does the committee have any feedback on this?
Okay. And then we at one point had listed your benefit package that is on your website. I think we probably need to insert a link there. Is there not a link to a page on the state's website for benefits and that sort of thing, Randall or Brenton?
Brenton, I think, can set you up with that.
Okay. And then you notice that we have said this is an unclassified position with the Louisiana Civil Service. And Chris and I have given a little bit of information about a selection process. I'll let you read that. Okay, any questions?
I did have one question.
Yeah,
as far
Chris.
as the satisfactory background check, including a fingerprint-based background check and drug test, is that, do we also need to include a, and I don't know the requirements, a credit check of any kind, or is that not necessary?
Actually, if you could do that, that'd be great. That was one of the things that I was thinking about.
Do we want to address the, I think the interview process will not begin until February. And then I guess the final selection will be made in March, not April, or do we want to leave April?
Let's leave April, and if the timeline looks like we're moving faster than April, then we can review that and schedule the final vote, the final meeting for earlier than that if we need to. But I think it would be prudent to leave April as the deadline for now, because y'all have so many things that you two will be doing that we just don't yet know how long it will take. And so I think April gives you enough time without crunching you further before you start.
I think Michelle had her hand raised. I'm sorry.
Yes, Michelle, you have the floor.
Okay, I had a question, go back to conditions of hire. I know with our office and with our executive director is required to travel and to be covered under Office of Risk Management, which DD Council is covered under risk management. That position has to have a clean driving record and must be licensed in Louisiana. So I think that needs to be added to the conditions of hire. If we're going to expect this position to travel and
they certainly will,
then that needs to be a component of conditions of hire, a valid driver's license and a clean driving record.
Valid point, noted.
I'll get the proper wording from that piece to add to this driving record, but this is something that we will update.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have a question. Is there an approved style guide, color, and font for anything that goes out in the public? It's specifically this. A lot of times councils do have those.
We do have a font size, do we not, Brenton?
We usually push everything out in Arial 12.
All right, what about any specific colors?
I'm not aware of specific colors, but Brenton, would you have any feedback on that? What y'all find works best?
I mean, I don't know that we have anything that's approved or not approved. I mean, we can send you the colors that we typically use as like council colors. We have a particular color range that we use on like our letterhead and stuff. So I can figure out what those colors are if that's what y'all want. But
it is. I just want to make sure that at the very top when you're looking at this, that blue is the correct blue. And I copied this from where it's highlighted. I took that logo, but I want to make sure that this blue is the exact color of that logo. There's just certain things I want it to look the same across the board. And when we put it out there, that it's exact colors, which
Gotcha.
in the grand scheme of things is not the most important thing, but it is a little bit. So great.
No, you guys are the professionals. Thank you for that.
I can find out what the color codes are and send that to you.
That's perfect. Thank you.
So I think the last thing that we really want to talk about for a few minutes are the different places that you would like to see this job posted. And we actually had a list of those. Christian, can you put that list up? She's probably reaching for that, which is good. Yeah, and then there were some others, Christian, in the notes.
I'm pulling them up. Give me 10 seconds.
Okay. So we just want to make sure that we are hitting the potential posting locations that you all want to make sure we reach in order to get candidates with the right qualifications for your position. I know that we, and I think Chris is pulling the others up in just a minute, but these are some of the ones that we talked about. LinkedIn, Lano has a job website, Association of Fundraising Professionals, Indeed.org, The Advocate, Chronicle for Philanthropy. And then there are some disability sources that you all have given us, and councils throughout the United States. But just off the top of your head, are there any specific places that you want to make sure this job gets posted?
This is Chris. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Sorry about that. I can't figure out, I don't know where the button went to raise my hand. Apologize. I just want to real quick and have just a brief conversation around the driver's license thing. I mean, how much travel is actually realistically needed for this position? I know that in the disability community, that particular provision on job descriptions is often criticized. It's kind of one of those things a lot of folks just throw in and don't really think about, and how that disqualifies a strong amount of individuals with disabilities. So, I mean, can anybody answer that? Like, realistically, how much travel is involved? Do you really need a driver's license? I know I have two people on staff. I'm not saying they're qualified for this job. One has a PhD. The other one has been in this field for like 40 years, neither of which, because of their disability, can have a driver's license. I'm just thinking about people like that.
Brenton, do you have any light you could shed on that? You work with the person day to day.
I mean, it's not an excessive amount of travel outside of Baton Rouge. I mean, they obviously have a lot of meetings that they go to in Baton Rouge. And the amount of travel outside of Baton Rouge is really going to be dependent on the director. I mean, so previous directors, there were times that they attended meetings, and there were times they just asked one of us on staff. I can tell you, majority of the time, usually when we have our roundtables and when we have various LACAN meetings that we go to throughout the year that is outside of Baton Rouge, it's usually not the director by themselves. There's usually a group of us that go, at least myself, Ebony, the director. So there's usually 3 or 4 of us that travel as a group. So I would say, I mean, I don't have an exact number, but maybe a handful of times they might travel somewhere alone. But outside of that, it's usually with some others from staff if we go anywhere.
So provided that, are we all comfortable mandating a requirement that the individual has to have a driver's license to be qualified to apply for this position? Because I don't think I am.
Could you use the words reliable transportation? That would give them an option to if they utilize a bus or any kind of a transportation
Thank you.
service, would that be acceptable?
I think it would be.
I think that's a great idea.
I think it would be, yes.
Great. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So the driver's license.
Mr.
and
Chairman,
clean
I want to just chime in with,
Yes.
we
Ms.
look
Sonia.
at it in the, I'm sorry. I was just thinking along the same lines as the master's degree situation, since we looked at that as trying to make it inclusive. Could we list the driver's license as preferred but not required, the same situation?
Yes, we could.
If they make it equal and take care of, not limiting people.
Yes. Yes.
So I would like to reply to Ms. Sonia. I think that that's okay, but I think saying reliable transportation will just cover all those bases, and you don't need to say driver's license preferred. It might sway people who do have that disability that they aren't allowed or able to drive. Whereas reliable transportation, it really leaves it open for anybody, whether they can drive or not, to come in if we're going to go there.
So, committee, how do we feel about it? Is reliable transportation the route we want to go to make sure we're being as inclusive as we can? Or do we want to add preferred to the driver's license requirement?
Personally, I like reliable transportation.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, may I
Yes.
clarify?
Yes, Michelle.
The reason I stated driver's license is if that person is going to be driving a state vehicle or their own personal vehicle, then they have to have a valid driver's license to be covered by risk management. If they do not drive and they're not being covered by risk management, it's not an issue. But if we expect them as a council to drive themselves to meetings, then they must have a valid driver's license and have a clean driving record. So that y'all can put it wherever you want, however you want. I just wanted to bring that as a concern.
Thank you.
So I'm going to interject one more time. So what I can say, a driving record check, if applicable, reliable transportation, and the rest of it. Will that be acceptable?
I think that will work. Yes. Does anyone disagree?
Thank you, Christian.
Yes, thank you.
So are we ready to move on and talk about these posting locations, Randall?
Do we have any comments related to this in the chat, Brenton?
This is just one more thing. Are we going to have, I didn't see it on there, just the general boilerplate language about equal opportunity stuff?
Yes, it's on there. I have it updated on there, but I will make sure that I highlight it on there to make sure that it is where it needs to be.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Were you looking for comments specific to the list of locations for the job post?
Yes.
Yes.
So Liz did have a question asking about other DD councils, policy and advocacy agencies, et cetera, but she saw that they were listed later. I think this is Miss Kathy Dwyer. The name is cut off, but I think it's that. She added, said I would add FHF centers to help advertise. And those are on there.
On our list.
Of the document. And that's it for now. And I do
Okay,
see
go ahead, Randall. I'm sorry.
Was there a comment related to ADA requirements or something that I saw earlier that might not be related to this, but I thought
That was related to the discussion earlier about if we had specific formats or colors, and it was from Ms. Kelly Monroe. She said you should look at what the ADA requirements are, make sure there's high contrast colors and the font is big enough for people who may have visual impairments.
Noted. Thank you, Kelly, and thank you, Brenton. Okay.
Also, Randall, I was going to say Michelle's hand is up. I don't know if that's from earlier or if she still had something to share.
Michelle, do you have something you need to share with us?
Okay, going to some of these councils, Kay and I do not have contacts with some of the councils, or we're not entirely sure of who we would need to contact, which I can research. But if anybody has somebody that they know that can provide the information on where I can send the job description and posting to be posted on their sites, that would be incredibly helpful. You know, if anyone has anyone through the Alumni Association, through social services, I do not have contacts there. Anything with Easter Seals, but that's pretty general. As far as the National Council of Nonprofits, any of those, that would be incredibly helpful. And if you don't, it's fine. I just think sometimes if you know somebody that could point us in the right direction quickly, it does move things a little faster.
Sure. Brenton, you want to be the point person on that? So if anyone sees this and wants to add someone who's not on the list, they can get in touch with you and we can get their information too.
Yeah,
I mean,
and I would love to say if you have a personal connection somewhere that you would make an introduction for us and then we could take it from there, that would be great too. Just that would be helpful.
Yeah, I mean, some stuff I would assume, you know, if we send something to our national association, I would hope that they could then disperse it to all the councils for them to share. I don't know if the exact step is for us to send it to all these people individually, or if we have the main group that we would send it to and ask them to please share it with their listservs. Like, I don't know, Chris, you might be able to answer. So all the protection and advocacy, if we send it to you, would you be able to send it to someone that could get it to all of those? Is, you know, that's kind of my thought. And he says, yes. You did have a few comments though about where you're posting.
Yes, please read those.
One was from Ms. Kathy Dwyer. It was about the ARC, both national and state. And then she did say she could see the ARC now. She also said AAPD. And then Ms. Karonda Corley, she also has her hand up, but she had a question asking, do you not believe you're showing a bias by putting LSU alumni?
Kay, would you like to answer that?
Yeah, I think one of the reasons we felt like your reputation, they are a given being right here, that they may have a network of people in their alumni association through social services that they could push this out. I think our thoughts in talking to Brenton, and we really haven't gotten there, and it was the next place I was going, was that if you're not paying transportation costs, bringing people in, if they're paying their own way in, or if you're not providing moving costs, then you may have less of a pool of people outside of the state of Louisiana or within a smaller nucleus around Louisiana. So our thoughts were reaching out to the LSU alumni social service group. They may also have people that are working in other states that are looking to get back home too, which could be to your advantage.
I think maybe to her point is that, and I may be putting words in her mouth, I'll let her speak in just a moment, but maybe the other alumni associations within the state too could be added.
Oh, absolutely.
What she's getting to.
Yeah,
Is
I'm
that
sorry.
they're singled out, but then you have other, you have the Southern system and whatnot, and other alumni associations, ULL and all of those.
Yeah, and this was strictly social service degree department, not the whole alumni association. So,
And that may not have been her whole. I'll give her the
Yeah.
floor in just a moment. But I just was thinking perhaps that's what she means by that. But I'll
yeah,
give her
that's
the
a
floor to
great
clarify.
point, Randall. Thank you.
So, Ms. Karonda, you have the floor. Is she with us? Karonda, if you're with us, you have the floor. Okay, we'll
So
move forward.
Randall, we will also check Tech, Grambling, Southern, Northeastern.
Yes,
We'll check the other local state universities who might have social service departments.
thank you. Do we have any other questions?
I think we have Karonda back. She said she didn't have the option to unmute. It was checked, but maybe it didn't happen. But I think we have it worked out now, maybe.
Okay.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Andrews.
Okay.
Got it worked out. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Council. That was exactly what my sentiments were, that Louisiana has many universities, such as Southern University being the oldest and largest historical Black university in the nation. You have Xavier, who puts out more doctors than any university in the nation. You have ULL, you have Louisiana Tech, Southeastern, University of New Orleans, Dillard, and the list goes on and on. And for us to only limit it to LSU alumni, even if it is LSU alumni through social services department, you have some of these other universities throughout this state that are highly noted of having the best department ever in the nation. So I don't think that we should limit it, such as Southern University have the #1 department in the nation for nursing. Yet we were only going to limit to LSU alumni through social service. So I think that we have to be very much open-minded and yes, not be biased, but we also have to take into consideration that we are also under a federal order requiring us to have hiring practices that are reflective of what the federal DD Act says, as well as civil service. And so with that means that we are not being racially and ethically ethnicity representative in our hiring practices, and that we should do so. And as far as in with that, we have to take into consideration that civil service says that we do not discriminate. So with us not discriminating, we would be definitely discriminating if we only limited to LSU alumni.
We're not just limiting that. We're not just limiting to them. That's the one they were aware of when putting this list together. We will certainly reach out to all of the departments at related universities within the state.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you, Karonda.
And Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, I just wanted to make sure that we don't forget that we are under that federal requirement in regards to our hiring practices. So we do have to take that into consideration with our executive director search.
Yes, we are aware, and Lano is aware, and
we are absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And it's always a good reminder. So thank you for making sure we know. Okay.
Right. Are there any other questions or comments? Okay.
So I think last question for us.
My hand raised.
I'm sorry, Stephen, you have the floor.
Just for clarity, the National Council on Developmental Disabilities is on this list.
I believe they are, yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Nationalists, yeah. I thought they were, but I'm glad you asked. It's, you could miss. Yeah, I think we just need to know from you in terms of your budget, and I think I saw a chat of where we are in terms of bringing in candidates for interviews or paying for moving expenses. I think we need to be real clear about that in our posting, or if asked, or if you want it in your posting.
Brenton, what's your feeling on, should we put it in the posting, or should we have it, that information, if asked?
I mean, that I don't know that my opinion really matters, to be honest. I guess I would have it if it was asked. It's my understanding we can't pay to bring people in to interview them. The jury is still out as to whether
I wasn't sure. I thought that was the case, but I couldn't remember.
Yeah, so I tried to follow up. LDH, from what they told us, does not pay to bring people in for interviews. So I asked the feds, is that something we could do? And short answer is yes, you could, but if your state agency tells you no, then you follow your state agency.
Right.
So it would be allowed, but because LDH says no, we need to follow what LDH says. As far as can you pay moving expenses, there was a very short list of positions out there that they would allow certain moving expenses to be paid, or relocation expenses. And it's not clear as to whether this would qualify. Again, it's kind of a rock hard place where we kind of have this memo where LDH doesn't really tell us how we spend our money, but we do still have to follow some of their guidelines whenever it comes to
relates to hiring. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not certain, and so I'm trying to verify that, but it's a bit of a process.
Right. So let's leave that for if asked, and of course, once we get that clarification, we'll add it to this.
Okay.
Michelle and Steven's hands went up. I don't know if they have anything. Michelle may know a little bit about.
Michelle, you have the floor.
Okay, if as far as paying them to help pay their transportation costs to interview, no, that's not typically done in state government, whether it's classified or unclassified. Now, moving expenses, depending on where you're relocating them from, yes, the state can pay for that, but it has to be justified, and you have to set a limit on it, like a dollar amount of how much you will pay towards moving expenses.
Okay. Thank you for that information.
Okay.
Stephen, you had a question or comment, sir?
I guess that response kind of clarified it for me. But I feel like if we have the answer to that, that should be noted on the job description.
We agree.
So
we agree. So,
and then Randall, I don't know if this is too much to ask, but should we, prior to leaving this conversation today, should we set a December date to get back together to discuss interview questions?
That is up to you and Kirsten.
I think it would be great. I mean, it may be easier for Brenton to circulate something after this call, or for us to we can circulate something as well to get everyone on the same page. Is it easier for us to do that communication, or Brenton, because I know you all follow open meeting law, is it better for you to do that?
My guess would be let's let Brenton do that, so we make sure we're following our protocols as we should. But if you tell us when you're available, we can all look at our schedules now.
So maybe Christian and I will send a few dates for you all to choose from, and Brenton can send those out by tomorrow, the end of the week. And we can go ahead and schedule our next meeting. I think it would be great because everybody's going to get busy with holidays and end of the year. So if y'all are good with that, that's what we'll do.
I think that's a great plan.
Okay. Then are we approved to move forward with this job description, Randall, and beginning to post?
Do I have a motion for approval of the job description as listed today and discussed?
Michelle and Mike Billings both have their hands raised.
Michelle, you have the floor.
I make a motion that we accept.
Okay, Michelle makes a motion. We accept the job description as written. Mike, you have the floor, sir.
I'll second the motion.
Mike seconds the motion. So I have a motion and a second. Do I have any abstentions? Any discussion? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, please say no. The ayes have it. The motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. Then I think that's all we have, Randall.
Okay. Thank you. And we appreciate y'all getting that posted as soon as you can.
We'll get it out.
Thank
Thank
you.
you all so very much. Thank you for your help.
Thank you.
Okay, and Christian, if I may, whatever edits you made to those documents, if
Yes.
you can to me, because what I'll do is I'll link it in the committee summary so members can see the document that they approved as it was amended live. If
That
you
would
don't
be
mind.
great. And Brenton, we may get on the phone. I think we have a couple of questions. So noted from notes from today's conversation as well. So we may wrap up with a phone call to you when we get these changes made, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Not a problem.
Okay,
All right.
good to go.
Of course,
Thank you.
if y'all need me, just let me know.
Okay, thank you, Randall. Thank you
Thank you.
all. We appreciate it.
And
Thank you.
to
I
the,
hope everyone has a great day. Thank you.
thank you.
Hey, Randall, we did have on the agenda discussion of, I guess, if y'all wanted like that interview panel,
Yes.
which would be a sub group of this whole committee.
Right.
I don't know if you want to address that now or if y'all want to address it in December when you talk about interview questions. but-
Let's address that in December when we talk about interview questions, because I really think the whole panel can do it. It's just if we want to limit the number, we can. Let's look at that in at the December meeting when we get closer to discussion of that.
Okay.
I think doing it today might be a little premature, so let's do that in December. Is there anything else?
The only thing, since I have it up, since I wasn't sharing my screen, that was the motion that y'all had passed here, if you wanted to see that.
Okay.
Which was just the motion that you guys had to accept the job description and announcement as amended by the committee.
Okay, but I think it's good. Thank you for putting it up so people can see it.
And as far as I could tell, that concludes the business that y'all had set today, if you were in agreement with that.
I am in agreement, sir, unless the committee has something else they'd like to address that's pertinent to the agenda today. Hearing nothing else, if there's no objection, we will adjourn. Are there any objections? Hearing none, the meeting has concluded. Thank you all for your attendance today, and thank you to our public for your attendance and feedback.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, everybody.
Everyone.
All right, have a good afternoon, everyone. Thank you.
Randall.